Everybody, this is Chithronauts here, bringing you with a brand new video. And today we're going to be discussing the new rule changes for tournament play. I must apologize, and you'll have to excuse me because I am feeling a little bit under the weather today. Don't know what happened. I woke up with a really sore throat, but I decided that this is what I wanted to do. I wanted to talk about the new rule changes because it is very important, because it affects pretty much everybody in the game of Yu-Gi-Oh! Who currently plays. So let's just start by talking about the rule itself, and I want to go over the pros and cons of this, and I want to actually discuss what they could have done to implement this a little bit better, and perhaps not make the entire player base angry. So without any further ado, let's just jump right into it. What happens if I am not done with my match after 40 minutes? At the start of June 1st, 2018, all Yu-Gi-Oh! TCG organized play will use a brand new end of match procedures. Duelists should familiarize themselves with the new end of match procedures prior to attending any event. Sometimes a match will not be finished when the time ends of a round. If this happens, it is both the duelist's responsibility to note whose turn it is when the time is called. Duelists who require assistance with the end of match procedures should raise their hand and call for a judge. The judge should be notified that the match is ongoing and whose turn it is. The judge may or may not stay to supervise the end of match procedures, but should ensure that both duelists understand the following procedures. End of match procedures should follow these three rules. So essentially, they're changing the rules of the game so far, as we know it. Originally, it used to be where if at the end of these 40-minute round, at the end of the 40-minute round, you would get 5 turns to complete the game, and whoever had the highest life points, or whoever was defeated within those 5 turns, would be winning, would be the winner. However, they're completely deciding this on a whim, and we're going to go right into it. The first rule is if time is called, the duelists that are in the middle of the game, the current game must have a decision, a win, loss, or draw. That's basic standard stuff. We don't really need to discuss that. That's fine. Rule 2. Once the current game has concluded with a decision, determine the winner of the match by determining the number of game wins or losses each duelist has in the current match. These duelists with the most game wins will win the match. But if both duelists have the same amount of game wins, or if time is called between games of a match when both duelists had the same number of game wins, the match is a draw. So basically what this is saying is that basically if both life points are equal, or if you have 1 win and I have 1 win, it's going to be a draw. So that's basically how it is, which is, I guess, alright. Single elimination tournaments. I guess there's some tournaments that have single elimination rounds, so it's fine. They'll just go on is basically just with the same guidelines pretty much. Neither duelist may use his or her side deck if the time was called between game and match procedure. At least one duelist has already accessed his or her side deck. Then both duelists may use their side deck, which I guess is fine. These rules don't really apply to regional and YCS play, so we're not really going to worry about that. The rule number 3, though, I think this is where actually everything is the kicker here, and this is what really kind of just is kind of stupid. To be fair, or actually not actually to be fair, they say that you should familiarize the rules, but they kind of hide it in this article that no one is probably going to read in its entirety. So they should really make it public. Like they should make it like on a Facebook page or something like that, and just make it more public and more accessible to people. So instead of just hiding it in the middle of it, they should have put it at the top. Maybe even the bottom probably would have been better than just putting a smack dab in the middle, because no one's going to look. People are just going to look through this thing and just not read this. So the third one is if a win condition occurs at the end of match procedure, the duelist wins the current game. Keep these 3 rules in mind. Please follow the instructions when proceeding the end of match procedure. Continue the current phase of the game. Once the phase is over, stop the game. Determine the game winner at this point. with the duelist with the most life points winning the game. Game wins winning the match. If the game win total is the same, the match is a draw. During the single elimination stuff, don't need to worry about that. This is the real kicker here, because this is basically saying, hey, if you're ahead and you're winning your game, you don't even have to play the game anymore. You just go, well, I win. I don't have to even play out this turn. Good game. That's basically what I'm reading from this. Essentially saying that this is essentially saying that it really doesn't matter if your opponent beats you or not, or if your opponent can beat you the next turn. If it's your turn and you're winning, congratulations, you have won the game. And also, this is going to cause a lot of headaches, specifically if you're going in. If you're, for example, if you're in game, because sometimes game 1 lasts longer than games 2 and 3, and if you're going into game 1 and you won game 1, that basically means that you're not. That basically means that you won the match and you only played one game. And also simultaneously, if you only deal a little bit of damage in game 1 and the game 1 hasn't conceded yet, or lost, or hasn't concluded, and they call time on that, you're the winner, because your opponent, let's say you just do 100 points of damage and they call time. Well, guess what? You just won the game, because your opponent has less life points than you. You won the match entirely as well, because you can't go into game 2 because they just called time. Also, if it also is really bad for the opponent, because if you're the player that gets to call time, you get to decide the fate of the match. And if let's say you just entered your battle phase, they call time, guess what? Your opponent has to concede, because there's not going to be a way for them to respond and deal damage to you during the battle phase as much. It's not going to happen often, and your opponent is going to beat you this way. It's kind of just going to be a big headache. It's also going to be a big headache if you are going into games 2 or 3 and you guys just finished side decking, and you guys are still side decking. Let's say your opponent takes about extra 30 seconds than you do. Well, the game hasn't started yet and they just call time. That means the match is over and somebody won. Because someone took too long. Basically, what I'm saying is that if it's at turn 1, if game 1 lasts long enough, so let's say it lasts like 39 minutes, I can side deck for 1 minute and I would win the game if I'm up on you. So that's honestly kind of stupid, because it doesn't give the opponent a fair chance to even make it a draw. I guess this is a way to circumvent draws in some ways, but there's going to be a lot of draws considering the fact that people are just going to end their games on a draw. There's no point in doing this. And let's say also you're going into game 2 and you're behind or you're ahead. Some people would just scoop up their cards and go say, hey, well, let's go to game 3, because of the fact that a lot of players do this, where they're ahead 1 and they're going second. They'll just scoop up their cards and say, let's go to game 3, so they can go first. There's nothing wrong with doing that, but people do that, and that's not very good for how this is going to work out. There's absolutely no way for this to even be a thing. I really don't think this should be a thing. And if they wanted to help curve the time with this, instead of just making it 5 turns, they could have easily made it 3 turns. Or if they wanted to do that in 3 turns, or if they didn't want to have turns at all, they could just slap down an extra maybe 20 minutes onto the game thing, and have that 20 minutes be the extender. I go to locals and we go to the standard 40-minute rounds, and we do 5 turns, and we also have 10 minutes. We give the player 10 minutes. If the game isn't concluded by the 5 turns or in 10 minutes, they decide the winner there. It's a simple solution to a problem. I guess in some ways this is kind of okay in a lot of ways, because it allows you the rounds to end faster, because a lot of people are just waiting for the rounds to end, and that's fine. If that's what they wanted to do, then just implement an extra 20 minutes or implement a time limit. Because just implement an extra 5 minutes onto the game, because if they did that, they would curse so much of this problem, it wouldn't be funny. like I said, this is kind of going to be a very atrocious thing. I don't think this is going to be very good for the game of Yu-Gi-Oh! As it stands. And if you're a Trickstar player, rejoice, because you're going to be the cheesiest deck in the game, and you're going to have probably the most wins out of any deck ever because of this. It doesn't matter if Trickstars like get slaughtered on the ban list. Trickstars will probably forever and always, because of this new rule change, be one of the better decks. It explains the chain strike limitation actually quite thoroughly, because that means that means cards like that means decks like Chainburn can't rise up and be kind of stupid, but they kept Trickstars in the game, so it's moot. It's completely irrelevant. So I honestly don't think this is a very good thing for the game. Moreover, moreover, I was gonna play like Spiral Nightmare, but I'm probably should just play Trickstars at this point, because it's going to be the same thing. I'm going to Tulsa in about 2 weeks, so I mean, yay. I don't understand how this is going to be very good. So anyway, guys, if you did enjoy this, please leave a comment in the section down below. Tell me what you guys think about these rule changes. Do you guys like it? Do you guys hate it? I personally dislike it, but anyway, this has been Chithil Alliance signing out.